This is Arkansas Roots on KASU, the public media service of Arkansas State University. I'm Marty Scarborough. Today, joined by three guests to discuss a new short film called Salad Days. Corbin Pitts wrote, directed, and stars in this new short feature film. And I'm also joined by the husband and wife team of Cliff and Susan Prowse, who've provided the music for this film. Welcome all of you to KASU.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Well, glad to
good to
have
be
you.
here.
Glad to have you all here. Well, Corbin, let's start with you. We've spoken with Cliff and Susan on this program numerous times in the past, but this is my first chance to get to visit with you. So tell me and tell our listeners a little bit about your own Arkansas roots.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me on.
Mhm.
I was very young when I started off. I was 5 years old. And I was in a film called Red Courage. And I shortly after got signed with the agency here in Central Arkansas. And then I just started doing a ton of local theater. I've done a lot of productions at the Rep. I was on a national Broadway tour. And then it just kind of grew from there. And then when I was 11 years old, I was cast in True Detective. And that was just a really inspiring opportunity, to see production on that level, and me be a part of it. It was something I can't explain what it did to me, and it sparked something in me. And a few months before I got cast in True Detective, I started my own production company called Here Productions Entertainment, and in November of 2017. And people always ask me, like, when did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker? And it was never like a day where I just said I'm going to do this. It was kind of, I always was infatuated with the way that films were made. Even I remember my first film, 11, 12 years ago when we were making it. I didn't understand how, like, the camera turned off or how they would light a scene. It was always so interesting to me. And so when I was 11, to actually start and actually become like corporate and start my own studio, that was just, it kind of like, I felt like I had the entire world in front of me. And I had a few friends in middle school and the beginning of high school that I used to just shoot these terrible films with. They were not good, but I'm glad I did it, and they're memories that I'm going to cherish forever. So it's been a gradual thing over time, and yeah, that's the story.
Well, you wear a lot of hats in what you do as an actor, a writer, director, filmmaker. Can you separate those out? Do you have one aspect of what you do that you enjoy more than the other?
Um, Kind of, not really. Like, I enjoy all of them in their own ways. I enjoy directing because I feel like I can look at, the material and take a step back. Since I am an actor, I can look at material differently from what other directors and how they would look at them. I kind of have a fresh perspective, or outlook on some of the material and different ways of looking at it. I don't know. I feel like directing and acting, they correlate in a lot of different ways, and I feel like it is a plus that I am an actor, as long as being a director as well. I don't know. I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy all of them in their own right. So no, I don't really have a hat that I like to wear the most.
Well, two questions that kind of go together. I'd be curious to know what kind of encouragement you received from such a young age to pursue what you're doing. And were there ever any challenges or roadblocks in doing that from such a young age?
Yeah, there's most definitely a ton of roadblocks, but Jeff Nichols, an Arkansas creative who started Arkansas Cinema Society years ago, he was a really big mentor to me. Daniel Campbell, he's also a really big mentor to me. So I've had a lot of people um, that have been in the game for quite some time now that have kind of encouraged me and kind of been there over my shoulder, to help me navigate this really treacherous industry. And I've also had my parents, and I guess the roadblocks would be, I heard Daniel Campbell one time said to me during one of our meetings, he said that you're not even born yet in the film
Hmm.
industry. You're like negative 15 right now. Um, and that is true, like even being like 25 years old and trying to be a director, like that's still a really big deal because no one wants to work with someone that young and especially put them in a position of power like that. That's terrifying. And so I guess I experienced a lot of it. It was very concentrated when I shot Salad Days because I was trying to do a lot of things, like shut down an entire arts district to do a car chase and, have a house party with 70 people in a really nice neighborhood late at night, like, so there's a lot of stuff I had to get cleared and passed by higher ups. And it was definitely a challenge. And that's kind of what I've experienced for the past few years of being arbitrary. It's arbitrary, like a lot of arbitrary decisions being made for me because I am so young.
Mhm.
And as a kid, you always think that, like, no, I'm smart. I could do this. And it's like, you don't understand. But yes, I've most definitely experienced a ton of roadblocks.
My guest here on KASU's Arkansas Roots is Corbin Pitts, screenwriter, director, actor. We're talking about his recent short feature film, Salad Days. So tell us a little bit about the plot of this film.
Yeah, so the plot follows this man, Chad, and Chad just recently lost his wife in a freak accident. And the majority of the film follows his son, Bobby, who's 13 years old on Halloween night. And the crux of the story is this father and son relationship and how they're dealing with such a major loss. And for him to be 13 years old, that's already such a critical age. For him to lose his mother, such a in such a freak accident, like I just said, that's really what the story is about. And it's a coming of age story at heart, and it is a unique story for a young boy. And yeah, that's what it's about—a father and a son relationship.
Any particular inspiration that led to the creation of that story?
Um, like a collage. There was about 20 different drafts of this script, all ranging from, like 5 pages to like, 80. So there was a lot of different, when I was shooting the film, a lot of Moonrise Kingdom from Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the basics, Wes Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, David Fincher, and stuff like that. But, I guess I also had a lot of inspiration from a Netflix film called Marriage Story, made by Noah Baumbach. I probably butchered his name, but I think telling a story about a family, you don't even necessarily have to go. You don't have to have firsthand experience of what you're watching. I feel like it's kind of poetic, metaphorical in some aspects for many other things, and I feel like that is what I was trying to keep in the back of my mind when I was shooting and writing and making Salad Days. But yeah.
And you shot that here in Arkansas, correct?
Yes, sir. I shot the entire film in North Little Rock.
Okay. Well, I want to bring into our conversation now musicians Cliff and Susan Prowse, who provided the soundtrack for the film Salad Days by my other guest, Corbin Pitts. Cliff, Susan, Corbin, tell us how you all got connected. How did it come about that, Cliff, you and Susan provided the music for Salad Days?
It was entirely random. We happened to be in downtown Argenta in North Little Rock.
Well, let's back up. We are a member of the Little Rock and North Little Rock
Yes.
Chambers of Commerce. And so Corbin's dad and I have been friends and been fellow members on one of our leads groups. And so I'll let Cliff take it from there. But we knew Corbin's dad, and then
Right.
we happened to be in downtown North Little Rock one
Yeah,
night.
and I think we were outside. I don't know. We were walking down the street, and we were passing by a table full of a few people, and his dad happened to be one of them. And
I
we
think that
stopped
was
to
the
talk.
night that they were filming.
Yeah, they were
actually.
filming the police chase scene.
Are you sure it was a police chase? I don't know. Corbin made
car
me.
chase. So I think that might have been it.
But
But
it was, yeah, we got
they
to
had the
We were
roadblock down
shooting.
and everything. Yeah, it was just complete happenstance, and Corbin came by the table as we were talking to his dad, and somehow we got on the subject of music, and he was like, well, I need some music. And he was like, I need it like really quick. So it started from there.
And it was really, really cool to see what he was doing. He was in the middle of producing that, the film, and just such a cool energy about Corbin and his ambitions and everything he's doing with his career at such a young age. And so it just made a lot of sense for us to jump on board and kind of join his creative vision for the film, and maybe even more films in the future. So that's kind of how it started. And then from there, it's really cool to maybe visit about how all of the music comes together with the actual picture and motion picture.
And I wanted to ask all three of you about that. But first, just one other question for you, Cliff and Susan, is I know you've done a lot of different musical endeavors in and around Arkansas, from live performances to helping to mentor other Arkansas musicians and other musicians across the country. But had you ever had a project like this one before, where you were intentionally creating music to accompany moving images?
I don't think so.
No, I've created my own pieces as far as what I would think would go well with the soundtrack, or I've just creatively done like some piano thing that would be like, oh, this would be excellent. This would be so good for like a horror movie, and I do those little projects for myself that maybe one day they'll be useful in some extent. But no, I've never been actually on a project where I've gotten to create for the scene that I actually knew what I was creating it for.
Which is so awesome. That was so cool to watch from an innocent bystander, because a lot of the lead was Cliff on arranging and working with Corbin on, the scenes and what he needed for each of those opportunities.
Well, Corbin, I wanted to ask you, what kind of, if any, specific direction did you give to Cliff and Susan regarding the music that you wanted to accompany your film?
Well, I think, like they were saying, like I needed music pretty quick, and I did meet them actually. I met them at a bar in Argenta at it was really late at night, and I was shooting a scene for the film, and I just remember asking for a business card, and they gave it to me. They would send me sample files of like stuff that they can do, but since it was such a last minute thing, like they literally made the album and like, I'm not even kidding, like a week or two. Like it was crazy. It was insane. And so the reason the direction I gave them, I went out to their studio one day and they were just kind of playing me some stuff. And I think the direction that I was going in for the album, regardless, was very acoustic, very grounded, very simple. And that kind of just worked out. Like it was kind of a blessing that I already had that going in. And I'm sure that they could have cooked up something extremely complex in that time. But just to keep things simple and easy, that's kind of what I had them do, is to go into that direction of, acoustic guitar, a little bit of piano sometimes, or, some stuff like that. And Cliff gave me this song in one of his folders, his sample folders that he was giving me, called Love for Love's Sakes. And he was just like, I have this, oh, it's okay, but I'm going to do this. And he had like others, so I'll send you more if you don't like it. And I was like, no, this is good. What is this? And I remember I was very short on time for festival circuits. Like I had deadlines, and he said, I'll go into the studio tonight and I'll like master it and mix it and re-record some vocals. And he did. And so, I mean, it wasn't like the film I made was made over like a year. What they did was made in like 2 weeks. And so that's what I think is pretty amazing, is the album kind of was never going to happen. Like I never was going to actually have an original album to come out on all streaming platforms and stuff like that. They came in last second, and it was like a miracle. Like it was crazy how we met and the odds and stuff. But that's kind of the direction I gave them.
Well, the song Love for Love's Sake, so was that not written specifically for the film? Did you make any changes to that, Cliff, to make it fit the plot of the movie?
No, it was not originally intended. That was just a random song that I just happened to write probably a couple weeks or a few weeks before we ended up meeting.
I think it was meant to be, is what it was. It was a gift from God handed to Cliff a couple weeks before we met Corbin, because it's so perfect and it's a beautiful song.
And it was just, I still in the movie is just like in what I would say like my demo stages, because it's just an acoustic and a vocal, and
which is what Corbin wanted.
Yeah, which is what he wanted. So it fit what that aesthetic of the acoustic feel that he was going for, and because I still do plan to do a whole grandiose production around it. But yeah, that it just sometimes it just whatever fits the film, and I happen to have that song that he thought fit the vibe well, and I didn't make any changes other than just some geeky EQ changes that I wanted to do and re-record the vocal to make it a little better, but that's about it.
Marty, what I love about this song is that as Cliff just mentioned, he has a vision for this massive production in his head, and he's a fantastic arranger and producer. But what I love about about the song is the vulnerability of his voice, and just kind of the more stripped down, beautiful sentiment that the song is about. And I think that really marries well with what Corbin created in the film. So it really was one of those like perfect fits.
And that was something, I wanted to ask you all about, is why does that song fit so well thematically and lyrically with the film?
Oh, 100%. When I was listening to it, I was like, wow, this is like really fits the vibe. And even not even the vibe, but not even just like the feel I was going for, like the lyrics kind of, they went totally with what, like I just told you, Marty, like what the story was about. Mm-hmm. And if you actually look at the lyrics, it completely makes sense for the film.
My guests here on KASU's Arkansas Roots are filmmaker, actor Corbin Pitts, and musicians and musical entrepreneurs Susan and Cliff Prowse, who have provided the soundtrack for Corbin's short feature film Salad Days. Now, Cliff, I want to ask about another aspect of the music beyond that one song, Love for Love's Sake, is the instrumental music you created for the film. You've got this just really beautiful musical theme that runs throughout all of that music that's featured on the soundtrack. Tell us about creating that little theme for the film.
Yeah, so he had already just a couple of songs that were picked out. One of them was kind of an acoustic song, and I kind of followed what he already had to make it seem cohesive throughout, as well as he had a little jazzy tune that I think it was Take 5 or something, and so I did another song that was similar to that. So I just tried to make it feel consistent throughout, but yeah, it was great having the ability to watch the film and see it, and I even gave him a few other little tidbits, and I was like, I feel like this might go at this point in the movie, and so I just kind of watched it and was like, what fits what I've already done. And he even took the Love for Love's Sake song, and I gave him just the acoustic version of it without lyrics, and he was able to use that in some areas as well. So I just I had fun with it to figure out what scene felt like the music that I could provide worked the best. And like I said, it was my first time doing a project like that, so I had no idea if he'd even like anything that I did.
Well, I'd like to ask all of you just to kind of reflect on just the importance of music when it comes to TV shows and movies, and the way that music impacts and enhances what the viewer is seeing on the screen.
I think it has everything to do with it. I think, you can have a beautiful image, but they say this in film school is you can have a beautiful image, but if your sound is terrible, then no one wants to watch your film. And I think that's the same thing. I think sound, period, in film, and I'm including music, audio design, everything. I think it all has to make sense. Like, it has to make sense. And I see a ton of, like college thesis films where, like they'll have a kind of an okay image and 50-piece orchestra playing, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think the reason I thoroughly enjoyed Cliff and Susan's work is because it was like the stuff that they gave me was so stripped, and it was so, innocent, it felt like, and it felt it felt, I don't know, independent. And that's what my film is. We're an independent studio. We're an independent, this is an independent film. And so I think that audio has everything to do with the film, and I think some people downplay it sometimes or underestimate the power of sound, like I said, period, and motion pictures.
Yeah, I think art is supposed to, we make art to evoke a certain emotion, and I think visually it has to be paired audibly with something that sends that same message. And if those are fighting each other, then it's just not going to come together. You can I've seen several kind of funny scenes where a moment is supposed to be really sad or symbolic, and then they put in some, they take out that music and put in some like funky like funk music or whatever in it, and then it just completely changes the mood of the scene to something comedic, when in reality what's on the picture is completely sad and somber, and it changes the mood entirely. I think we're kind of wired to feel that certain emotion from different sounds and music, and so it's definitely, I think, just as important as what's shown on the screen. It has to, and his I think his choice of doing acoustic music was the right call. Like he said, it's very independent. It's very just not really anything thrills and frills.
Honest. I'd say the word is honest. Yeah.
So I think it definitely fit what he was trying to accomplish as far as what emotion he was going for.
Well, just a couple more questions to wrap up our conversation. First of all, Corbin, where can people go to see the film or to hear its soundtrack?
So I'll start off with the soundtrack. The soundtrack is on every single streaming platform. And so you can stream that anywhere. Just look up Salad Days original motion picture soundtrack. It's there. Or just go to Cliff and Susan's page. You can stream the film. You can rent the film at www.heroproductions.com, and it's spelled www.heroe productions.com. We spell hero with an E. Quirky, I know.
And then if just someone would like to learn a little bit more about each of you, and just beyond Salad Days, but the other work that you do, where can they go online to find that information?
Sure, I'll take that one. Cliffandsusan.live is our website. And like Corbin said, you can find Salad Days on any of our discography, on any of the streaming platforms that you prefer to listen to music on. You'll find that soundtrack as well as our other music that we have released as a duo. And we have a lot of other things that we endeavor, and a lot of projects going on in the state of Arkansas if you go to cliffandsusan.live. And I just want to say, Marty and Corbin, it's such an honor, and one of the most important things to us is to continue to collaborate with Arkansas artists. There's so much talent in this state, and so it's so cool to have something very crazy like a random meeting in downtown North Little Rock to end up working on such an awesome project. And I look forward to seeing what Corbin has in store for him. I know it's going to be an awesome career.
Yeah. Do you have another project in the pipeline, Corbin?
I am in development for my next film, and I have a film coming to it's a limited theatrical release with Mickey Rourke, Jason Patrick, called Murder at Hollow Creek. That should be, I think it's just won Best Comedy at the Montreal Film Festival, and a screening soon there. And I think that's it for now.
Well, that's a lot. It's been a joy getting to talk with you all. Arkansas filmmaker and actor Corbin Pitts, And musicians Cliff and Susan Prowse, who, by the way, are up for 2 Arkansas Country Music Awards this year for Vocal Duo Group of the Year and for Promoter of the Year. We've been talking about their work collaborating with Corbin, creating the soundtrack for his film, Salad Days. Thanks to you all again, and I look forward to another opportunity we have to talk about some of the more of the work that you've created. Again, you're all great Arkansas artists. Thanks for spending time with me today.
Thank you so much, Marty.
Thank you.
Here now is that song we referred to during our conversation from the new film Salad Days. Here's Cliff and Susan with Love for Love's Sake.
I can't stand the thought of you alone, without anyone to hold you tight when it gets too hard. You'll say you love anyone who says they love you too, but you know that won't do. 'Cause when we love just for love's sake, every day gets further away from the truth, and you'll lie awake wishing you still had your youth, but you'll make it through with the smiles that you fake, 'cause that's what you do when you just wanna love for love's sake. Years go by, but nothing seems to change. Her cries simply fade away into the silence where she hides. She'll say she loves anyone who says they love her too, but if she only knew, then when we love just for love's sake, every day gets further away from the truth, and you'll lie awake wishing you still had your youth, but you'll make it through with the smiles that you fake, 'cause that's what you do when you just wanna love for love's sake. Every day gets further away from the truth. Oh, and you'll lie awake wishing you still had your youth, but you'll make it through with the smiles that you fake, 'cause that's what you do when you just wanna love for love's sake.
Cliff Prowse of the duo Cliff and Susan, featured there on a song called Love for Love's Sake. It's on the soundtrack for a new Arkansas-produced film called Salad Days, and that soundtrack is available on all streaming platforms. This is Arkansas Roots in the noon hour weekdays and from noon to 3 on Saturdays, showcasing Arkansas art and music and film and theater and all kinds of things culturally that make our state unique and special. In just a moment, we're going to tell you about a very special event happening Saturday, April 1st in Dice. It's the 2023 Arkansas Roots Music Festival. Music from one of the artists and details about it as Arkansas Roots continues here on KASU.